this episode, we get rid of the most avoidable kind of exam stress, the stress that comes from breaking a rule by accident or worrying that you might. When you are new to certification testing, it is easy to assume the rules are either obvious or identical across every exam, but they are not. Proctoring rules exist to keep the exam fair, and fairness means everyone follows the same boundaries around what they can access, what they can bring, and how the testing environment is controlled. The good news is that these rules are learnable, and once you understand them, you can treat them like guardrails instead of traps. That mindset helps you focus on the actual security concepts rather than spending mental energy on anxiety about doing something wrong. By the end, you should feel confident about how to prepare your space, your materials, and your behavior so the rules work with you, not against you. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Proctoring is basically supervised testing, whether that supervision happens in person or through a remote setup. The point is not to intimidate you. It is to confirm that the person taking the test is the registered candidate and that the candidate is not receiving unfair help. That usually means your identity is verified, your testing environment is checked, and your behavior during the exam is monitored. For beginners, the most important idea is that proctoring creates a controlled environment, and controlled environments have rules about what can be seen, heard, accessed, or used. If you treat those rules as part of the exam, you will prepare for them the same way you prepare for the content. Many learners fail to do that, and then they feel rushed or flustered during check-in, which is a terrible way to start a timed exam. Your goal is to make the proctoring process boring, predictable, and fast. Identity verification is usually the first step, and it is worth thinking about early rather than on test day. A proctor needs to be confident that you are you, which commonly involves showing an accepted form of identification and matching your name to your registration. Small mismatches can create delays, like a nickname on one document or a missing middle initial, and delays can increase stress even if the issue gets resolved. A smart beginner move is to check your account details and confirm that your identification matches what you used to register. Another common point is that your face must remain visible and recognizable during the exam, which means you should plan for lighting, camera angle, and comfort in a way that does not require constant adjustment. When identity checks and visibility are smooth, you start the exam with confidence instead of adrenaline. Now let's talk about the open book idea, because open book does not mean open everything. Many learners hear open book and picture a casual environment where you can freely search the internet, message a friend, or look up anything in real time. That is not what open book means in a proctored certification setting. Open book typically refers to a controlled set of allowed reference materials, often physical books and printed notes, sometimes including an index you created. The idea is that you can consult prepared resources, but you cannot use external assistance or dynamic sources that could feed you answers. In other words, open book rewards preparation and organization, not improvisation. If you think of it as an exam where you bring your own reference library, the key becomes knowing exactly what is allowed in that library and how to use it quickly without breaking any rules. The boundaries around allowed resources are usually clearer if you separate them into a few categories in your head. There are materials you can bring, materials you cannot bring, and actions you cannot take even if the material exists. For example, a physical book may be allowed, but a phone that could access a digital copy is usually not allowed. Printed notes might be allowed, but loose papers can be restricted in certain testing modes or may need to be shown to a proctor at check-in. Even when something is permitted, the proctor may require that it stays within view and that you do not handle it in a way that hides your face or blocks the camera. This is why organization matters so much, because fumbling through materials looks suspicious even when your intentions are innocent. The safest approach is to treat the rule boundaries as strict and to design your testing setup so you can consult resources smoothly and visibly. A common misconception is that open book means you do not need to memorize anything. In reality, open book exams often demand stronger understanding because the questions are designed to be time-limited and concept-driven. If you rely on looking up every answer, you will run out of time. You should expect that your references are there for confirmation, quick definitions, and reminders, not for full problem solving. Think of your notes as a safety net, not a substitute for learning. The most useful references are the ones that help you make decisions quickly, like a well-made index, short concept summaries, and a few diagrams you truly understand. If your materials are messy or too large, the open book advantage disappears, and you may even slow yourself down compared to someone who studied and brought a clean, targeted set of references. Indexing is worth special attention because it is often the difference between calm searching and frantic page flipping. An index is not magic. It is a map, and maps only help when they point to the right place fast. A beginner-friendly index uses your own language, not just the exact words from a textbook, because your brain will search in your own terms under pressure. For example, you might remember a topic as password storage, so your index should lead you to hashing and salting content quickly. Good indexing also means consistent labels, like always using the same term for the same idea, so you do not waste time guessing whether you filed something under encryption or cryptography. The key is that indexing is done before exam day, not during the exam, because building the map is part of study, and using the map is part of test taking. Your testing environment is part of the rules, and this is where remote proctoring can surprise first-time candidates. The proctor needs to be confident that your space does not contain hidden notes, additional screens, or other people who could help you. That can mean showing the room, keeping your desk clear, and making sure your screen setup matches what is permitted. If you have multiple monitors, a common requirement is that only one is used and others are disconnected or clearly not active. Your workspace should be simple and predictable, with only the allowed materials present. Noise matters too, because unexpected sounds can trigger suspicion or can simply distract you. If you can control your environment so it stays stable for the whole session, you reduce both compliance risk and mental distraction. Communication rules are usually strict, and they are strict for a reason. During a proctored exam, you are typically not allowed to talk to anyone, receive messages, or interact with other devices. Even speaking out loud to yourself can be restricted because it could be interpreted as communicating with someone off camera, or it could reveal that you are reading questions aloud to a hidden person. If you are someone who thinks by talking, practice thinking silently during timed questions so it feels normal on test day. Also consider that even innocent actions, like looking away from the screen repeatedly, can raise questions for a proctor because it might look like you are reading notes off camera. The best habit is to keep your attention and gaze centered, and if you need to consult an allowed book or index, do it in a smooth, deliberate way that keeps your movements obvious and consistent. Another boundary that matters is what you can do with notes during and after the exam. Some testing settings allow a blank sheet or erasable board, while others restrict writing entirely, especially in remote formats. Even if scratch work is allowed, you may be required to show it as blank at the beginning and to destroy it or show it again at the end. The reason is simple. Exam content must not be copied or carried out of the testing session. Beginners sometimes assume they can jot down question details and keep them for later study, but that is usually prohibited. Your goal should be to learn from practice exams before the real one, not to collect memories of the real questions afterward. If you treat exam content as confidential and act accordingly, you will naturally avoid behaviors that could violate rules even by accident. Break rules can also catch new learners off guard, because breaks sound harmless but can create opportunities for unfair help. Some exams allow breaks, some allow them with conditions, and some treat any break as ending the session. Even when breaks are permitted, you may not be allowed to access personal items, your phone, or anything outside the allowed resources. You might also be required to stay within camera view or to follow a specific procedure to pause monitoring. The practical advice is to prepare your body so you do not need an emergency break, which means planning hydration and comfort ahead of time. That might sound small, but it can protect your score because breaking your focus is costly, and accidental rule violations during breaks can be even costlier. If you prepare to complete the session smoothly without relying on a break, you are safer and calmer. Let's connect all of this to a simple ethical idea. The rules are not obstacles. They are the definition of a fair test. In cybersecurity, integrity is not just a technical term. It is a behavior you practice, and exam integrity is a real-world example. Following boundaries, even when you could probably get away with bending them, is a small rehearsal for professional ethics later. It also protects you from the emotional toll of uncertainty, because if you know you stayed within the lines, you can focus fully on solving problems. Many learners underestimate how much confidence comes from clean compliance. When you remove the fear of being flagged or disqualified, your brain has more space to recall concepts, interpret scenarios, and make good choices. That is why learning the rules is not separate from learning the content. It is part of becoming the kind of security person the certification represents. A good way to prepare is to simulate the rule environment during your practice, not just the question format. That means practicing with only the references you will actually use, keeping your phone away, and working in a quiet space without interruptions. It also means practicing how you will consult your index quickly, so it does not become a time sink. If you are allowed physical books, practice with them open nearby and learn how to find content fast without losing your place mentally in the question. If you are unsure whether something will be allowed, the safest approach is to plan as if it will not be allowed and rely on it only if you later confirm it is permitted. Practicing under slightly stricter conditions than the real exam tends to make the real exam feel easier, which is exactly what you want. On test day, the goal is to behave in a way that looks exactly like what it is, a focused person taking a test alone, using only allowed resources. That means your space is clear, your materials are tidy, and your movements are calm. If something unexpected happens, like a technical glitch or a question about your setup, you respond directly and patiently rather than getting defensive. Proctors are doing a job, and smooth cooperation usually resolves issues faster. Mentally, you should treat compliance as a background process that you already mastered, like fastening a seatbelt, so it does not compete with your attention during the exam. When you are confident in your boundaries, you can move through questions without second-guessing whether you are allowed to check a note or turn a page. That calm is a real performance advantage. To wrap up, the big idea is that rules knowledge is part of your exam readiness, not an afterthought. Proctoring exists to confirm identity, protect fairness, and keep the testing environment controlled, and those goals create boundaries around devices, communication, notes, and breaks. Open book means you can consult a permitted set of prepared resources, not that you can access unlimited information or outside help. Your best strategy is to prepare your environment, organize your materials, and practice under realistic constraints so nothing about compliance feels new on test day. If you remember one decision rule, use this. When you are unsure whether a resource or action is allowed, assume it is not. Keep your behavior simple and visible, and choose the option that keeps you clearly within the proctoring boundaries.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.